We are live, everybody, with the NoDQ review, episode number 92. I am Aaron Rift from NoDQ.com. Let me introduce our moderator, the one, the only, often imitated, never duplicated, the troll slayer himself, Virtue. How's it going, man?
What's up, Aaron? It's going good, and my computer's back up and running. Hopefully, I do not glitch out this week. So, without any further ado, let's introduce this week's panel. I always call it the elite team of the NoDQ channel. Big G, I'll start with you because you are back after weeks and weeks of absences out on assignment. What's up, man?
Not much, like you said, I've been on assignment, but also been working a lot on the front line, trying to get through this pandemic, watching some wrestling to get us through because we don't have any other sports. But we do have the NFL draft starting tonight. So other than that, I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back on after, like you said, weeks and weeks and weeks. Greg, how you doing, man? It's been a while.
I know, it has been a while. I think the last time we were on video was when you faced me for the trivia championship. And that's been
almost 2 years ago. Yeah, almost 3 years ago, I think, something like that.
Yeah, I've been champion for over 2, so probably pretty close.
Yeah.
But as my fellow Steelers fan said, the NFL draft is tonight. I'm representing the Fighting Irish in Notre Dame with this shirt right here. That's my college team. But we do have a football topic on this show for a wrestling show, which is pretty odd for us. But
well, we got 3 football fans on this panel, and Aaron Rift isn't one of them. Aaron, how's it going, man?
It's going good, and I just realized I made a major blunder here. We are live, so I got to go fix this real quick. I forgot to put this video on public. I thought I did. I hate the YouTube studio. I just want to do a little rant here since nobody's listening at the moment. I am not a fan of the YouTube studio, and they recently forced it on us. And with the old way, I was able to edit the videos easier at least than right now. Now I have to go back in the studio, and it takes forever to load.
Do you want to re-kick it off? Do you want to re-kick it off live?
Oh no, we're good here. The stream
watching?
is already set up. I just got to make it public. But we can go ahead and get started here. There might be a few people listening to this right now that have the direct link off of the YouTube channel. But anyways, let's go ahead and just get started with this, and I'm sure people will come in here in a few minutes.
All right. Well, the first thing, Aaron, I know you kind of know what happened on the WWE conference call today. Before we talk about that, Rob Gronkowski is coming back to the NFL, and lo and behold, he's going back with Tom Brady. He was traded to from the New England Patriots to the Tampa Bay Bucks, and he is still the WWE 24/7 champion. So we got some football fans in this room right now, and I'm sure in the NoDQ Galaxy in the chat. Aaron Rift is not one of them. So Greg Cherry, I will start with you. Well, it was inevitable once Gronk, I just felt like his career wasn't over yet, and this makes perfect sense for him. I'm surprised New England dished him to the Bucks, though, to be with Brady, and didn't trade him somewhere else. What's your thoughts of this in the wrestling bubble since he's got a WWE title?
Well, I figure that the WWE will take advantage of the situation. I mean, it's a big news story, him being a champion in the WWE and going back to the NFL. So it's like, hey, the association's still there. So, rub elbows with the NFL for a little bit. I think we both knew that Gronkowski's NFL career wasn't going to be over. It seemed like he did kind of end early with the Pats. And as a fan in the AFC East, or AFC North, rather. AFC East is the Patriots. As a fan of the AFC North, I'm personally happy that the AFC won't be run by New England, hopefully, for the foreseeable future. Now, we'll see what happens in Tampa Bay with Brady running with our old buddy, Big G, Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
We'll see how he does down there. But I think WWE will capitalize on this, and either they just disband the WWE 24/7 championship, which I know Aaron kind of hopes for, but I really think that they should take advantage of this and maybe do a title change during a football game. I think that would be great.
Interesting. Big G, what do you think there? Obviously, it's got to be in his contract from football that he can't physically do anything. Now, with the 24/7 title, they can do something spoofy, and he can literally just be laying down. They can do a cutaway. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised when I read the news that Gronk is going to Tampa Bay because he and Brady are buddy. Who maybe Edelman will eventually go down to the Tampa Bay, and all three of them will be back. As far as the 24/7 title, Gronk's still having it. How long? Does anybody know how long Gronk is under contract with WWE? Was that ever specified? No. Oh well. He can be 24 champion as long as he wants to, and like Greg said, have it like during the halftime show or something like that. Have Gronk lose it somewhere in the locker room to R-Truth showing up or whatever, or just disbanded it altogether because nobody really cares about the 24/7 title anymore. Other than that, we'll see what happens with Gronk. See how long he'll last in Tampa Bay because we know the Patriots were able to protect Tom Brady. And, we'll see how the Bucs do that with Tom Brady, and we'll see how Gronk does down there.
Down there. All right. If it's not Pittsburgh Steelers, you and Greg don't care.
Absolutely.
Aaron, if it's football, you don't care. But any thoughts on this since technically he is a champion in the WWE right now? What do you think on this from at least a little bit of sports sense? What do you got?
Okay, we do have a few super chats, which will get me through this because I really do not have much to say about it. Nick Glavin with a $4 super chat says, I made it live, ready for some good discussion. Well, thank you for tuning in, Nick. I do appreciate it. And thank you to everyone out there for tuning in as well. And OG85 with a $2 super chat says, wishing everyone a happy Ramadan Kareem. I'm not even sure what that is, but maybe OG85 can specify what that is. PsychoJet Black with a $2 super chat says, is Gronk going to be the WWE version of Pac-Man Jones? Oh, man, Pac-Man Jones. Yeah, for those of you that do not remember, Pac-Man Jones appeared in TNA a couple of times, and I don't even think he took any bumps. I think he became half of the tag team champions and never took a bump. And yeah, with Gronk going back to the NFL, he cannot jeopardize his health by taking bumps.
Yeah.
I say good riddance. I do not care about Gronk. Go back to the NFL and take the damn 24/7 title with you. I think this is the perfect opportunity to retire the damn thing and move on. Let Gronk be the final 24/7 champion, and we move on to something else. But bring back R-Truth at least. He was entertaining, and with the way things are right now, we could use R-Truth. Find a way to bring him back, something other than the 24/7 title. But yeah, I think it should be gone, and hopefully there is no more 24/7 title. It had a nice run, but it's time to move on.
Well, there you go. You heard it there. Maybe they can have R-Truth go when they finally do football training camp or whatever. He can sneak on there and they can do a cutaway. He's pinning Gronkowski and he leaves. I don't know. We'll see. But maybe Aaron's right. Maybe they will permanently get rid of that title. All right, let's move on here. On Smackdown in the last several weeks, maybe even a couple of months now, they've been doing this mystery hacker gimmick. And it's probably going to turn out to be nobody. Just the rumor mill will buzz, but ultimately it'll go away like nothing happened, like the Raw Anonymous GM, GTV back in the day. How interesting, though. GTV didn't work back in the day, but now they're doing this, which is very similar. We've heard potential Xavier Woods' voice when people are alternate. I don't know how real this stuff is, Aaron. Who's the other guy that the rumor it could be? Ali. I just want to know everyone's thoughts here. Yeah, Chad Gable. So is this going to turn out to be anything good? Probably not, just by hearing those names. Aaron, what do you think?
My feeling is it'll probably be the obvious Ali. Maybe it's Ali and Chad Gable. It would be cool if it was somebody we were not expecting, but who would that be? I suppose they could call up somebody from NXT. I'm just not sure who else would make sense. Ali and Chad Gable have nothing going on right now, and I suppose it would give them something to do, and at least it would get Chad Gable away from the stupid Shorty G moniker. But other than that, I really don't have much of an opinion on it. I'll let it play itself out and see what happens. But yeah, I would like to see something cool and see somebody benefit from this. The thing is, if Ali ends up being the guy or Chad Gable, he'll get a 2-week push and then it'll be nothing again. And it won't really be that big of a deal. So I'm hopeful that WWE does do something significant with whoever's behind it, but not getting my hopes up.
There you go. Big G, what do you think? Big GTV over here. Shorty GTV. Oh, wait, it's the anonymous hacker, mystery hacker. And I like when Jericho came in back in the day and they started doing that weird Y2, the second coming of Jericho. I like the hype. I like all the different stuff like that. But they got to nail the reveals. They got to have a plan for these people once they're back. And a lot of times, it's like they care about this stuff before the people are back. And then when they're back, who cares? I mean, look at, even though we knew who it was all along, look at Emelina that whole time. And they didn't know, she didn't really want to do that gimmick, and put her on TV doing that for the hype all those weeks and months to not deliver. That's ridiculous. They need better creative. What do you think they can do with this? It did produce a decent angle that people liked with this Otis and Mandy stuff.
I did enjoy that angle, and now they're doing something with the tag teams, or like the New Day or something like that. This past week on SmackDown, and the week before, if it is Ali or Chad Gable, good for them. Give them something decent to do. It kind of reminds me of that show, Mr. Robot. They had the computer hacker, and like we mentioned, kind of like GTV in the past. Other than that, man, we'll see what happens. A lot of people don't give it time to like build. They want like something right away, but I feel you should let it build a little bit and keep on doing these little hacks and trying to mess people up or whatnot, and eventually down the road reveal who it is. Now I'm saying don't do it, a year long, but do it like a month or 2 or 3 months, and then reveal who is behind, all this this mystery hacker.
Now, Psycho Jet Black.
Thanks, Becky.
Psycho Jet Black had sent in a $2 super chat. I already featured his comment, but I'll go ahead and read it since he sent in the super chat. Hacker is Lars Sullivan because he is famous online.
Interesting. Well, thanks for that super chat. Greg Cherry, what do you think here? At the very least, maybe they can get some good angles out of this, even if the ultimate plan of the hacker isn't something big. Look what happened with Otis, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville, who you like. If they can get some traction to make storylines interesting from this, what do you think?
I'm actually very intrigued by the idea of Xavier Woods being the hacker and splitting up the New Day. Like, that could be, like, I don't know, kind of like deep-rooted, that, like, he's kind of forgotten since he got hurt, but the New Day, like, celebrates their success without him. I know that's not like how it plays off online, but it's like, they probably could do something with that, like, New Day's still successful without Woods. It might not be him at all, but I think that would be interesting. You were right with the whole like GTV and all that stuff. That they really are into like the secret filming stuff that just never seems to pan out. And they also tried the hacker thing with Sami Callihan for like a month in NXT before he left. So I don't know if this will be anything, but I want to try to give it a chance.
Yeah, and we will. I mean, heck. The thing is, sometimes they just don't do anything with storylines. Look at the whole Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan and that saga last year that never, maybe plans change, but come on, WWE, you should be better than that, more clever than that. I'm not saying you have to revert to the shock TV, but, come on. Let's move on. Here's one for everybody. With the current state of wrestling as it is, with no fans in attendance, and who knows, Aaron, before we talk about this, do you want to talk about the conference call? Any points from the conference call that we should discuss, and maybe the Galaxy wants to comment on?
Well, no shocker, WWE 2K21 is not happening. There was some news regarding that. I'm hopeful they'll come up with something completely different, go back to the drawing board. People are mentioning it in the chat room, the idea of coming back with something different, maybe something more in the style of No Mercy or Day of Reckoning from the old Nintendo consoles. But yeah, I think after the debacle of last year's 2K game, I think it's best that they not release a game this year and focus on making a better product for next year. And also some news, there might not be a Saudi Arabia show this year. Vince said that they want to do one. However, it might not be able to happen because of the circumstances. However, WWE will still have the deal with Saudi Arabia, and apparently it'll get tacked on to the end of the deal, which means
It's like WWE contracts when they sit out, they extend them.
Yeah, exactly. So for those of you thinking, oh, we might go a year without a Saudi Arabia show, they're going to make it up down the line. So yeah, that's what we're dealing with right now. And we do have a $2 super chat from Josh Mansfield. Says, all hail King Virtue.
That's like 3 years old, but thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. The NoDQ Galaxy and Elite panel appreciate it. Before I move on, Aaron, anything else from that conference call, or we can go to the next topic?
I mean, Vince talked about how they're using all these cleaning techniques to keep everything sanitary and keep people healthy, and the financial numbers are looking pretty good, all things considered. Vince did say that the cuts were basically due to the idea of trying to be conservative, and you don't know how things are going to be a year or two down the line. So they're taking a conservative approach, trying to save money, even though right now at the moment the argument is that they don't need to, but they want to be extra cautious with their finances. You guys could read some of the highlights over NoDQ.com. Nick said WrestleMania will be in Saudi Arabia. I don't know about that one, but we'll see.
Well, thank you for that report, Aaron. But this is topics we do once in a great while. It's kind of more of a generalization, opinion, fantasy booking. But in the current state of wrestling, as we discussed, no live attendance, no fans. What's everybody's favorite show if they had to pick one, and why? And we got Raw, we got Smackdown, we got NXT, we got AEW, and of course there are others, some of them in the can with crowd. I don't know if we should count that, I guess specifically talking about the empty arena one. So Greg, I'm going to start with you. If you had to pick one in the current situation, is one sticking out to you, or do you prefer one over the others?
Well, one day of the week is sticking out to me, and that's Wednesday nights. Monday and Friday are what they are, but it seems different with NXT and AEW. The feeling just seems different. The production for NXT is obviously the same as Raw and SmackDown because it's all shot in the same place. But AEW just they bring something different to the table, and I kind of dig it. And the Matt Hardy Chris Jericho segment from like 3 weeks ago or whatever it was, still gold. It's still hilarious to think about it. There's one show that is head and shoulders above the rest, but as far as who's in the lead, I give it either AEW or NXT.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Big G, here's the thing, like in AEW right now, there's a tournament. Now we know NXT's done tournaments, or I don't know if it's directly NXT, but we've had the Mae Young Classic, we've had the Dusty Rhodes tag team. A lot of that's NXT talent and even indie talent. I like how AEW is doing this tournament, even though it seems very predictable that it's probably going to be Cody versus what's the guy's name? Jake's guy. But it's like for some reason these matches seem interesting, and I almost have like a mid-90s King of the Ring vibe from this. Early 90s mid. Not saying it's that level, but kind of where you cared about brackets and wrestling, or some wrestling fans would say like the Mae Young Classic. Yeah. So Big G, what do you think here? Are you going to pick Raw or SmackDown? Are you going to have the balls?
Oh, so actually this past Monday, with like I think 45 minutes left, I actually switched off Raw and turned something else on because with Raw and SmackDown, it is what it is. but I'm gonna have to give to Wednesday nights. NXT is 1A and AEW is 1B. AEW, like we said, is doing great things right now, especially like Greg mentioned, the Jericho and Matt Hardy stuff going on in the tournament. And then NXT, they got their cruiserweight interim tournament going on right now with Drake Maverick. Could be his final 2 matches in WWE. But yeah, we'll see what happens if we ever do get fans back in arenas. But with Raw and SmackDown, I love WWE, but it's NXT and AEW for me right now.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Big G. Now, Aaron Rift, did the ratings come in this week? We know that they've both kind of been down under 700,000 a show for Wednesday nights, but NXT's edged them out the last 2 weeks. How about this week?
This week, AEW came back and won. They got like 730,000, I think, and NXT was slightly down, I believe, 660 or 670, somewhere in that ballpark. So AEW's doing all right. We got a couple of super chats.
It's not
here.
The war of the Monday night back in the day, though. Way, way off. I mean, it's literally a fraction of that. So
yeah,
Disco Inferno said it best. This is not a war. I mean, it's not. Anybody who loves these rating battles, you're talking 0.28s to 0.27s, and they're sharing the same piece of the pie. Back to you, Aaron.
I'll give my overall thoughts on the shows here in just a second. Ken, terminated by Google with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Ken. Says, I disagree with Josh Mansfield. All hail the WTC champ. That was for you, Greg. See you this Saturday. And
it's actually Sunday, Ken, so I'm moving the stream back to Sunday. So
okay, you're bouncing around quite a bit here, it seems. You're bouncing around more than Impact Wrestling bounced TV stations.
Yeah, I only did the Saturdays because I had things going on the Sundays. So Sundays were my typical day. So
okay, fair enough. Josh Mansfield responded to Ken with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Josh. He says, excuse you, Ken. Virtue is the man who likes to lose bets to me. There you go.
I can't remember what that was, but
I was going to say it's kind of a
it's Kofi Mania. It was Kofi Mania, but Josh Mansfield, thank you for reminding me. Where's Kofi Kingston now?
And then
Aaron Rift.
Ken, terminated by Google with a $2 super chat, says, Mansfield, Aaron Rift is the man. I appreciate that. Thank you, Ken. Thank you for that.
Turned on me damn quick.
Will anybody say Big G is the man? Who's going to step up?
Greg, I feel like Ken Jeong from The Masked Singer. Everybody likes everybody else but Ken.
Nice. Ken, I haven't seen that episode yet, so don't spoil it.
I won't.
Okay, so my take on the shows right now, overall, I would say AEW has been the best show of the week. However, I've enjoyed SmackDown. I really liked last week's show. I liked the Otis and Mandy storyline. I feel like SmackDown, other than the crowd, the last couple weeks, it's felt like a normal WWE show. AEW still doesn't feel like a usual AEW show because they've had to change it up so much. Like, the thing about SmackDown is it feels like the same as it was before everything changed. Like, they're doing the similar length of matches. They're not doing too many video packages. With AEW, the last couple weeks, we've seen a lot of squash matches, which wasn't typical of AEW before, and they're doing a lot of video packages. So it still doesn't feel like your normal AEW show. Where SmackDown, minus the crowd, it feels like a normal WWE show. So that's why I think like the last couple weeks, SmackDown, but overall, I would go with AEW.
Yeah, and I think that's a good consensus. I mean, maybe I'm biased because of Chris Jericho and, Jake the Snake Roberts is there cutting promos, even though, hopefully he's okay. There was something going on. DDP had to help him out during this quarantine. But DDP's a great guy, and he just announced on the news today with Anderson Cooper he will not be opening his gym while Georgia opens up their state because he thinks it's too early. So good for you, DDP. Waited a little bit longer. Wait till this curve is flattened even more. So moving on, since we talked about AEW, and it seemed like besides NXT, it was a unanimous show there for everybody to enjoy each week. MJF kind of worked the internet. Some people called the BS on it with an injury. And he turned it into a hangnail or whatever it was. That's awesome. I want to see wrestlers work. Sorry, Aaron Rift. The dirt sheets more, the reporters, make them think something's going to have them, and make a joke out of it later. I mean, this is why he is good at what he does. He's great at what he does. So I just want everybody's thoughts here. You can talk about something else that sticks out like this too. I mean, Nia's comments with the Rousey thing. We'll talk about Nia Jax later, trust me. But I love this. I'd like to see more of this, especially when people fall for it so easily because, when news breaks, oh my God, somebody got hurt. You don't know when they could have got hurt. And then he comes out and he turns it into a gimmick. Greg, I'm going to start with you. Did you kind of see what happened here with MJF?
I honestly didn't see it coming because I saw the reports too of him being suffering some kind of injury. But if he did work us all, that's brilliant. I mean, MJF is what, 23, 24 years old? He's not very old.
No.
But few in the industry nowadays blur the line between kayfabe and reality as well as MJF. I give him props. He's doing his job well. He's becoming that hated heel that everybody knows he can be, and it's brilliant. If they don't honestly, I think MJF probably should be the one to take the title from Moxley. I'm going to say that right now. Just because he can taunt Cody with it, because Cody can't challenge for it, so he can taunt him all he wants. That's just my opinion.
Yep. Aaron, what do you think here? I know you report what seems to be the legit news at the time and whether wrestlers are working or not. Like, I got tickled out of this, nothing against wrestling news sites, Aaron. I contribute to your site. But God, it's just a breath of fresh air when it seemed serious and legit and people fall for it, most people. And then, boom, the reality sets in and it's just a spoof. What do you think here? Did anything else come to mind with this kind of thing before in the past?
I sensed he was working people, but of course I'm trying to get website traffic, so I will post whatever he says on Twitter and pass it off as news because that's what I do. And I just hope for his sake, like, he doesn't have a real serious injury or something going on that
still could
forces him to legitimately take time off. That would really suck because people would not believe him since he's so into the character. That's why I've always argued like wrestlers should have 2 Twitter accounts if they're going to do social media. One for their character and one for their real life persona. That way people don't get confused. And if you want to tell people about an injury or something, you go on your personal account and let people know what's going on. If you want to trash talk on social media, use your character Twitter account. So I've always argued they should have separate accounts rather than blurring the lines, because then when somebody really gets hurt, you might not believe them because you'll be like, oh, they're just working the fans. And we see that a lot when WWE announces a release or WWE announces somebody's injured. A lot of people tend to think that it's a work or something's going on here and it's not on the up and up. Now, before Greg goes, Ken Terminated by Google sent in a $2 super chat, says, my bad, Big G, happy late birthday. I guess he forgot your birthday? That was bad of you, Ken. And Nick.
And it'll be Big G, by the way, next. Greg already went on this topic.
Oh, well, then we'll get Greg's response here anyways. Nick with a $2.79 super chat says, what time, Greg? I guess he's talking about the live stream, and says, also, Big G is the man. There you go, Big G. You're the man.
There you go.
Everybody getting love. So, Greg, what's up with the live stream?
The live stream is 3 o'clock Eastern on Sunday, so check that out. I'll do all my plugs later. I don't need to do them right now. But Big G, since I already went on the topic of MJF, I'll pass it off to you.
All right.
Now, Big G, what if MJF really is hurt and they just don't want the world to know and he's doing this as a spoof? Even better for that. Heal up, make people think you're just sitting. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to know what's really going on.
Yeah.
I just want to see you on the show. Be your character.
Yeah. I mean, I read the reports too, reading on NoDQ.com. And then I saw when he did the video package yesterday, he had this arm in the sling, and then he had the scarf around his hand, and he did mention like a hangnail or something like that. So that could be his injury, But yeah, I've watched MJF since back, what was it, like 2013, 14, back in Maryland Championship Wrestling when he was about 18 or 19 years old, and ever since I've seen him back then, he's always been a heel, and he works at. He is the best heel in the company right now. He will work you. He will make you think he's injured. He will make you think that, whatever he wants you to think, people will think that. So props to MJF. Yeah, he's a heel, but I like him. He's cool.
And I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on that. Even better than Jericho, because Jericho, although he's a great heel, he still always has that appeal to his fan base, and he always comes across with it on TV. So he just can't be a true villain all the time, like back in the day. So with that said, MJF does get the slight nod over Jericho. Good point there. Now, let's move on, because this might stir up the chat. Nia Jax. Now that we get to see wrestling animated GIFs or GIFs, whatever you want to call it, video clips all the time on the internet, even if we've never been in a ring before, we can all say, well, the footage is there. She is not a safe worker. So she's got a track record, clearly, as the internet has shown, of injuring people. Becky Lynch, almost Kairi Sane this past Monday. And Aaron, I want to start with you here, because Seth Rollins kind of went through this several years ago. He hurt John Cena, freak thing against Finn Balor, the thing with Sting. I don't think there's been really anything involving Seth Rollins. Maybe those were all freak accidents. And even before that happened, I don't ever heard of him being an unsafe worker. But a lot of people always liked Seth Rollins. He had that Shield appeal. When he broke in, he was an indie darling. Nia is straight up The Rock, only in the business because of The Rock. And a lot of people will never like her. So naturally, I think she's getting it extra, safe or not safe, because people don't like her. Now, it's clear she's probably still too green. Why, NXT, she really wasn't in there that long. So what's your take on Nia Jax here? And the fact that she's on TV squashing people, and she seems a little bit reckless, and she has a history of this.
Yeah, I think maybe the thought process with her in that match with Kairi Sane is she's going to toss Kairi Sane around, and be a monster and whatnot. And maybe adrenaline just got the best of her. I mean, she's been around for several years now. I know some people are arguing the idea of her going back to developmental, but I'm not sure how that would work. I suppose she could. I'm not sure what else she could learn at this stage of the game. I guess there's always more to learn, right? It's hard to say, I would be curious to hear opinions of people that have actually wrestled and are not biased. I would be curious to see what they think about it. It's easy for all of us to just say, oh, she's unsafe, when we're not actually there in the ring going through what people like Kairi Sane go through and working with her. But yeah, it seems like these incidents are starting to add up with her. Which could be an indication that there is something to this. Adrian sent in a $2 super chat, says, Nia is still employed due to The Rock. I do not think that's the case. I think that if Nia was a real problem, WWE would have let her go. Look at Mr. Kennedy. He got let go after hurting Randy Orton. Although there were so many other things going on with him, he got suspended and he was injury prone. But I think if WWE really had a problem with Nia Jax, she would not be on TV, bottom line. We had that incident with Becky Lynch, and there's been other incidents. I think that if the company really felt she was a danger, she would not be on TV. So we'll see. We'll see if she's on TV, if her push continues with Money in the Bank and whatnot. Time will tell. I think that'll be the indicator.
Well, thank you, Aaron. Big G, does the N in Nia stand for nepotism? I remember back in the day where a monster heel kid get pushed up. because fans back, they knew that ultimately the babyface was going to go over when the monster heels run was over.
Yeah.
But in today's era, where both have to be the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat and great in-ring workers, Nia's going to continue to get this kind of heat. Now, I'm not condoning, she's rough in the ring. I'm not a huge fan of Nia Jax, but anybody, like Aaron said, if you're in the company and they're allowing you to still go out there and work, are they saving face because she's related to The Rock and they don't want to piss him off? Or do they really think that she'll become this heel that will put a baby face over that needs it when it needs it down the road? What do you think here? I mean, do we have to give some benefit of the doubt? Do we still need more footage? Because I thought a lot of the footage online of other instances where she hurt people, not counting the Becky punch, it was reaching. You know what I mean? Like, we have not heard these workers complain about her yet. Maybe they can if they're all working under the same company bubble. But what do you think on nepotism Nia?
Well, see, I mean, I read everything on Twitter and, what goes on and whatnot. But, I mean, I don't know if Kairi Sane is really on Twitter. And, if you don't hear anything from Kairi saying, oh, Nia threw me, tossed me into the corner and, like, hurt her or whatever, then, we'll see what happens. But, you just gotta. If I don't know anything about being in the ring, like nothing at all. So I mean, if you just gotta be safe when you work with each other. You don't want to try. You don't want to shorten somebody's career by ragdolling them around. Or, yeah, you're a monster. Do other things to get you over as a heel, and then try to get the baby face over as well. But, people on Twitter like to complain nowadays because that's all they know how to do. And people are going to hate Nia just for the facts. And if they keep her on TV, that's good for her. People have jobs, and other than that, not much else to say.
Thank you, Big G. Go ahead, Aaron.
Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Says people hate Nia Jax because of her size and promo skills. Well, I definitely agree on the promo skills. Like I was a supporter of Nia Jax getting a push, and I thought that she could have done really well, but then she tapped out at Survivor Series. What was this, 2016? And it was hard for me to take her seriously after that. I think WWE ruined her potential as like the female Andre the Giant, just being this dominant monster special attraction that WWE could have made her, but they chose not to.
And she's been out for almost a year, so I mean, maybe it was too early for her to come back, and they should have had her stay at the Performance Center a little bit longer, and try to get some more of that ring rust off or whatnot.
Now, the Game is on 100 just sent in a $2 super chat saying, Nia doesn't have half the brain that Sid does. Nice little reference to WCW there. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Greg, I'm not a big fan of Nia. She's apparently, she hurt Becky. But what is it that draws me to secretly admiring when wrestlers get the wrong kind of heat? Because I know you and I both like Baron Corbin. I love kind of being on the side of the wrestlers when the whole wrestling internet community isn't. And I'm not saying I'm sold on Nia for this, but I don't know. It's making me intrigued because the rest of the people hate her work. What do you think on this?
You have sometimes just because I can play devil's advocate. I'm actually going to go to bat for Nia Jax right here. So Nia Jax needs to be built up as a monster heel. And she has been. She does have the stuff with Becky, but you know what? That helped. I mean, Nia Jax injuring Becky Lynch, let's face it, probably altered the course for WrestleMania and gave the Women's Revolution the main event. We can say it was Rousey because of her build, but if Rousey-Becky would have happened at Survivor Series, I don't think you would have got that triple threat match at WrestleMania. I just don't think it would have happened. But at the same time, trying to think where my point was for this. Nia Jax Here's my point, and I brought this up in various arguments on Facebook and Twitter. And Virtue, you can relate to this because both of us have been in the ring before. Both of us have taken bumps. And there are so many, and I'm going to use an NFL football reference here. There are so many Monday morning quarterbacks that sit there and like, oh, why didn't they do this? Oh, they should have protected this, who have never stepped foot in the ring before. And it drives me nuts, even though I never like made it to the big time or never made it past the indie level. It's like, listen, we still went in there and we took the bumps. We know what it can be like in there. And here you are sitting on your couch trying to tell somebody who's been doing this for years, who might not be the best technical worker. I'll give them that. But they don't know that perhaps that bump was planned. It didn't look pretty, but perhaps it was a planned bump to make Nia look stronger. Don't go out there and say she's an unsafe worker if you have no idea how to put a match together.
Yeah, and I agree. Yes, Aaron.
Adrian just sent it a $5 super chat, says, Big Show is one of the safest guys in the ring for a monster. Nia is unsafe in the ring. Thank you for that, Adrian. Greg?
Well, thanks, Adrian. I didn't know you worked a match against Nia to say that. But, hey, thank you for the super chat. Again, we got to give the benefit of the doubt here. I feel if Nia was completely super unsafe, she wouldn't be out there. I mean, at least more than one. I mean, look at Seth Rollins. He had some big ones, and maybe that was just a freak stretch of injuries. Bret Hart threw him under the bus, but he's still grinding, and I don't think anyone's gotten hurt working with him recently. So this is just something to sit back. Like if she gets released one day or is off TV, then you can start saying, oh, maybe because she's an unsafe worker. But like, this is what we have to talk about. You want to say somebody that you never have done this with could be safe or unsafe. I don't know. Again, not a big Nia fan, but got to cut her a little bit of slack here. Greg?
And I do want to bring up, and this is just like a general comment, not just for wrestling, but in general, that there are a lot of people out there, when they don't like somebody, they actively root against them for anything. No matter what they screw up, they're there to pounce, and like they don't wish good upon them or anything. And that's just a terrible way to live in general.
Well, did Nia Jax qualify for the Money in the Bank? I believe she did, right?
I believe she did because she
we could get Nia Jax winning the Money in the Bank on the roof of the WWE headquarters, which is my segue. But before we get to the main event, Aaron Riff.
Well, what's funny is maybe the Money in the Bank has already been recorded. I know they filmed some content for it. It would be funny if they did record everything and Nia won the match before that incident happened on Raw. That would be quite interesting. Nick sent in a $2.79 super chat. Greg, you got quite a few people in the chat room agreeing with you. Nick says, Greg makes a good point. And also Adrian sent in a super chat, $2, says, Virtue, I wrestled her in the bedroom, never again.
Hey, never again. I was going to give you props for that, man, but
yeah,
she's got pretty eyes. They all have pretty eyes in WWE, caked with makeup. That's probably why these botches are happening with the women. Too much eye makeup on all of them. It's throwing their equilibrium and balance off. That's what happened, guys. They canceled Pyro, and they're getting 55-gallon drum and barrel loads of eye makeup and eyelashes for Pyro. But the main event, and we'll talk about other stuff, I'm sure, after this, but Money in the Bank is going to happen at WWE headquarters. Maybe they'll go through the parking garage, start at the first floor. It seems like this could be a cool Jeremy Borash thing, film crew thing. It's going to end up on the roof. I'm kind of intrigued by this. I don't know why. Like WrestleMania, not really so much, but once I saw the Boneyard match and I got the taste of the Firefly Funhouse segment, I am intrigued by this. Greg, what do you think? Like, I'm kind of excited.
I'm excited too, just because it opens up a lot of possibilities. I feel like they'll make the Money in the Bank matches a little bit longer than normal, just because, I mean, you have to scale a giant building. But I really hope like somebody like R-Truth ends up in the Money in the Bank, just so they can do a camera spot with him just going up the elevator, like taking the easy way out and just like chilling there for a little bit, just for a comedy spot. Be like, going up the elevator. And it like applies absolutely nothing to the finish of the match. It's just a funny spot. It was something I came up with. But it will be interesting. I think Nia winning Money in the Bank would be fantastic. And imagine if she cashed in on Becky and won. Can you imagine Twitter exploding over Nia Jax, not only injuring Becky at Survivor Series, but being the one to end her year-plus reign as Raw Women's Champion? Twitter would explode, and I think I would probably laugh.
And you wanted that out of Corbin back in the day, and they screwed it all up.
I was
that's a good
so
point.
pissed. So pissed.
And you have every right to be on that point of view for this, because you wanted the same thing. So you're not just jumping on the anti-Nia bandwagon because it's fun to troll all the people that hate her. You've been this way, dating back to Baron Corbin winning Money in the Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Big G. Did you have anything else, Greg, on Money in the Bank?
No,
Are we
really.
going to get a break-in on Vince's office? Are they going to set a fake Vince's office up again and wreck it? Well, they did that to Triple H's office before.
They need to do that. We need to see somebody fighting in Vince's office. And I'd love it if they brought back Darren Drozdoff for a cameo. He's in Vince's office. The guys fight in there, and Vince is yelling at Droz to puke. That would be such a cool throwback to Beyond the Mat. Like, I would love it, since we got some throwbacks with the John Cena, Bray Wyatt, Firefly Funhouse. WWE should think outside the box and do some cool references to the old era of WWE, the Attitude Era and all that stuff. Maybe even reference the commercial from the Super Bowl halftime. Maybe have Kane in there with a cup of coffee, or I don't know. There's a lot of fun things they could do, a lot of throwbacks, which I'm hoping we'll get to see. A lot of Easter eggs. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Did you want to finish talking? We can go to Big G after you. Anything else to say about this Money in the Bank?
I'm looking forward to the match. I'm glad they're doing it. It's something different, and why not? You got the WWE headquarters. Why not do something that we haven't seen before? And I'm just sad that it took a pandemic for us to get some different kind of content from WWE. But yeah, I'm very.
Now they got a lease. Do they own that building, or is it a lease? Because are they still going to the new building?
Well, they've delayed moving to the new building, so I believe they put out a lease on the new building, but they're still in the process of the move, and I think that's being delayed now because of the coronavirus.
Yeah, I'm surprised they wanted to go to a new building. Maybe it's bigger, because the Titan Towers or whatever it's called, it's kind of iconic. Big G, what do you think here if the Money in the Bank ladder match is being held on the rooftop of the headquarters?
I'm very intrigued. Like, you guys are excited for it, something different. I kind of agree with Greg with his R-Truth spot. That'd be hilarious. They can make it a very long match, or they could be fighting on the first floor. Somehow the elevator doors open. They all go into the elevator, and they're fighting in the elevator. Elevator goes to the top of the roof, and then they fight in the ring, and then they do their normal spiel with the Money in the Bank. But I'm not hoping that. I'm hoping they literally, like Aaron pointed out, do some kind of throwbacks on each floor of the tower, and then them leading up to that. But I see for the women's match, it's an early prediction, but I see Shayna winning it. She's going to choke everybody out, take the elevator, take the Money in the Bank briefcase. So
now, here's another thing.
And yes, sir.
Here's another thing I'm curious about. Are they going to be separate matches, or is it going to be all one sequence? Because in the photos, it shows two briefcases above the ring, unless that was just for publicity. I'm wondering.
I think it'll be two matches.
Yeah, how are they going to do that? Are they going to? Because if they're going to be fighting all over the place and tearing things up and whatnot, then you're going to have the second match with things strewn all over the place. So I'm kind of curious to see how they pull that off. Greg, what do you think?
Different paths. Buildings are huge like that, Aaron. Yeah. Parking garage, basements. I mean, if they take two different paths, I think they can successfully have two fun matches out of this. Although, why not have 45 minutes or an hour and combine them and cut back and forth to both? That would just be weird, though, because at some point they'd have to all end up in the ring together. So, yeah. Greg?
I was going to say, the idea of making it one big giant match is kind of intriguing to me. It's almost kind of like a Hunger Games type situation where everybody's fighting over Money in the Bank. I actually kind of like that idea. I'd like to see it. Because imagine if, Otis and Mandy Rose were both in the ladder match. They're both climbing the ladder, like going for their briefcase, but they catch each other's eyes. They have a lovey-dovey thing, and they both get shoved off the ladders because they're too focused on each other.
If they have a great production crew, they could have, Borash, whatever, Hollywood Film Studio. I mean, I don't know what they're going to film with this, but they could have some really clever stuff, and it's about time. I wish WWE would put this type of effort that they've done in the Boneyard match, what they could do at the Money in the Bank match here, into their weekly TV product, But,
and they could have somebody going into the elevator trying to cheat, but the elevator breaks down or something because there's so many people in there, and then they got to try to bust out of the elevator.
That would be a hell of a next video game. WWE Money in the Bank, and have it in Titan Tower. It could be imagine it could be like a hybrid video game.
They could make a video game. Yeah, WWE
like a
Titan Towers. And also I pulled up the WWE press release about the new headquarters. So yeah, it is a 16.5 year lease. And I saw something about the square footage, but I lost that part. It's a big building. And it says on here, this is WWE's press release. This move will allow the company to bring together its operations, including its new production studios and corporate offices at its new site. So there you go, guys. Oh, and Adrian with a $5 super chat, let's pull this one up, says, CM Punk and Jeff Hardy having a confrontation and catering will be interesting. Do not count on CM Punk appearing in this match. Highly unlikely in all likelihood.
And better yet, do we get a cash in from one of the two Monies in the Banks at the Money in the Bank?
That I don't think so. I would be surprised if that happens this year.
Yeah, because those are in two different states. If they're filming the rest of the pay-per-view back at the Performance Center, I understand if it's pre-taped or whatever, but if they do the Money in the Bank show,
that's true.
Live,
yeah.
Well, see, this is what I'm thinking.
They should do all the matches in the ring up on the roof, though. Even though the one Money in the Bank.
I don't know. I figured they'd
have to see.
Maybe they'll just do shows on the roof.
That'd be interesting.
What were you saying, Big G?
No, what I was saying is they could, because they pre-record both Money in the Bank matches, they'll cut to for the first Money in the Bank and then do the matches that they're doing at the Performance Center, and then, either have the women's or the men's be the main event and then cut back to the pre-recorded at the headquarters. So we'll see.
And what day is this, Aaron? May 10th?
May 10th.
May 10th. So it could already be in the can already. And
was it a significant date in WWE with Kane, or am I thinking of another date?
May 19th.
Oh, May 19th. Okay.
And don't.
So that's all I got.
Again.
Does anybody else want to bring something up besides what we talked about? Or Aaron, do we have more questions from the chat?
Well, Noah Foster just wonders if it's going to be 2 nights. I don't think so. I think it's just 1 night. I believe the whole 2-night thing for WrestleMania was to make up for the fact that there was no crowd. They got to have some kind of hook to make this WrestleMania a really big deal. So, hey, let's make it 2 nights.
So I'll make this quick and easily. With the anniversary of Triple H coming up, the 25th anniversary, how about just everybody go around and name something that they like about Triple H or hate about Triple H or something, favorite match, something like that.
This actually just gave me an idea, too, for a topic, if you guys want to address it. I was going to mention Triple H versus Taka Michinoku, how Triple H actually made Taka a credible challenger, and people thought that maybe, just maybe, Taka would win the WWE title. This was back in 2000. If you guys haven't seen the match, I'm sure it's on social media. He actually got people thinking Taka could win the title. That was mind-blowing to me. And that made me think of, I've actually thought of that because of Kenny Omega. I know some people were critical of the AEW Dynamite match where Kenny fought this enhancement talent, and it was actually a competitive match, and the guy kicked out of the V-trigger. Was that the right decision, or should Kenny have beaten the guy in 2 minutes? So Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat says, should Vince, Stephanie, and Triple H make a cameo? Definitely Vince. I want to see Vince in there, and I guess Stephanie, but whatever. Anyways, I'm done.
As long as Stephanie doesn't talk. Now, you talk about Stephanie and that Triple H topic. To me, the best Triple H that there ever was not when he jobbed Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 12. The early DX with Shawn Michaels in China, Rick Rude briefly, that Triple H really set the tone of his attitude, and he was that blue blood. I mean, who was he, right, going into that? He was like a pompous Englishman or whatever, literally like a blue blood. Literally, that defined Triple H's attitude. So that whole 97 into 98, and then when Shawn Michaels had to go home to his back, because of his back injury, and Triple H became the leader of DX, that will always be Triple H's best work. He had those matches against The Rock at SummerSlam, the ladder match. Yeah. Anybody else's take on Triple H?
I mean, Riff brought up Triple H versus Taka Michinoku. What about Triple H versus Maven right after the Survivor Series? I mean, he made Maven look like a credible challenger and even wrote me in to think that Maven was going to take the title from him. I mean, he was great at that, making people look good. I mean, Maven didn't last very long after that, but that's just because it's Maven. But even still, Triple H...
false finish for Jericho on Raw 2000, where Jericho won the title.
That was such a great moment. Absolutely. And that was the 20th anniversary of that was just in the last few days here.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, folks. I mean, Aaron, you usually when we go around and do our plugs, we talk for another 5 minutes because of questions in the chat. So we got 7:56 p.m. Eastern here. So Big G, I will slowly go over to you to start doing your plugs, and we'll see if we get any more topics out of this.
So NoDQ.com/Big G takes you to my Twitter page. NoDQ_Big Joe on Instagram. Jeff Filton on Facebook. NoDQ.com/merch. Go check out the latest merch over there. And that's it for me. Greg, go ahead.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and my Teespring store and my YouTube channel, all Greg Cherry brand. Buy a shirt. I could really use it. And also, next episode of Wrestling Trivia Challenge will come to you not tomorrow, but next Friday. It's every 2 weeks. Wrestling Trivia Challenge is officially back on my YouTube channel, Greg Cherry brand. Go check it out.
Well, thank you, Greg, and thank you, Big G. Aaron Rift, I'll pass it back over to you.
Okay, Adrian sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Adrian. He says, I would love a Vince R-Truth segment and then Vince mentioning the N-word. I was going to say the L word after the TV show. Caitlin watches that show. Yeah, maybe they could talk about the L word. How about that, just to change it up and do something different? Caitlin's like, what the hell is going on here? Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, talk about the Jimmy Snuka episode of Dark Side of the Ring. I haven't seen it. I'm way behind. I've only seen the Benoit episode. I was actually watching the Steve Austin interview with Ric Flair earlier today, and I'm trying to get through that. So, yeah, I got a lot of catching up to do with that. If anybody else here saw it, though, they could comment on it. Nick gave a $2.79 super chat, says, Triple H versus Shelton in 04, another push for a young guy. Yeah, well, Shelton didn't really get the rub in the end from that. My old friend back in the day, I remember he watched that match, and then when Triple H beat Shelton, he looked at me and he said, this is why I stopped watching wrestling. So, there you go.
Wow.
Not all bright and peachy.
He was a casual fan. He wasn't a diehard wrestling fan.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, you want to do your plugs? Or do you got more questions?
I think I read everything, but, I mean, did anybody have a comment on Jimmy Snuka or no?
Didn't watch it.
Nobody's watching it. Why are we not watching it? We should be covering this. We all need to catch up on our Dark Side.
I've been waiting for the Dino Bravo one, which is out.
I mean, I want to see all of them. I definitely want to get through them. But again, I feel like once the Herb Abrams one comes out, I'll be tuning into that right away. Oh, Caitlin had clicked out.
There's good things Vice does. There's good things Vice does and bad things Vice does. They crop everything into their 45-minute or hour shows. They do leave a lot of stuff out. So don't be giving Vice all this credit like they're uncovering all this stuff. They obviously are dramatizing it more so people watch it. But, I mean, come on, people.
Yeah,
we kind of know what's happened in all these situations for years. Come on.
I still think they're good documentaries. I enjoy them. But you're right.
But a lot of documentaries, though, I don't. Yeah.
Well, the one that I thought, like, yeah, I get it. You want to do it because it's a hot topic, but it's been done to death, and that's the Montreal screw job. Like, I am so tired of hearing about it. Like, if you want to know about the Montreal screw job, watch Wrestling with Shadows. That's the documentary to watch. You know, Dark
Yep.
Side of the Ring had to do their own version, and you had Vince Russo and Jim Cornette yelling at each other back and forth. Well, not at each other, but just taking shots at the other guy. So yeah, anyways, NoDQ.com. Make sure you stay tuned for all the latest. Like I said earlier, some highlights from the conference call you could check out there. The press release from WWE about the first quarter numbers and the numbers from AEW and NXT, all that stuff over at NoDQ.com. So that's all I got. Virtue, let's go ahead and
Well, thank you, Aaron. And of course, you can follow me, troll with me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue. You can go to my Facebook, dq.com/virtue. We'll be back again next week. When's the Money in the Bank preview and predictions? The week before, right?
Yeah,
so we got
I think
a couple.
we'll be doing Tuesdays for the predictions from now on.
Cool. So anyway, check out NoDQ.com for the latest news. You know the whole routine, people. But we appreciate you watching, especially those who watch live, who contribute to the channel. That's all I got for Greg Cherry, the Wrestling Trivia Challenge champion, who's looking for a credible challenger that can actually make him worried. For Big G, who's usually on assignment, and for the boss man, Aaron Rift, I am Virtue. Thank you for watching. We will see you next time.